Today we're joined by Alexis. Alexis, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yes, so my name is Alexis. I am a prospective film scoring major at Berklee College of Music. My primary instrument is piano, and lately I have been working on a 7 season YouTube TV show that incorporates real social conversations about TERFs and the new wave trans movements and likening it to the cult I am exposing. It's an American cult, though it has reached international waters, called Twin Flames Universe. In real time, as I'm exposing it, the cult was recently raided by feds, and I wanted to talk about the social conversations as well as explore the exploitative dynamics of a cult and discuss equitable solutions to both trans women and women and how we can make that happen. So thank you for having me.
Okay. Yeah, you're welcome. So, how do you think we can make that happen then?
So initially, I was going to pitch my work to my college. My college has a lot of anti JK Rowling viewpoints. So ultimately, I'm on her side. I believe that she's the one that's truly getting harassed and being excluded. Um, but I really didn't have more than just I support her viewpoints initially. So um, I was gaslit by a few staff members. They tried to say that I was insane for siding with her, that somehow I thought that I was like owed relationships, despite the fact that I'm a stalking survivor and he was a total nice guy. And there were a lot of people defending him. And I noticed like there was a pattern with that of, oh, he's harmless, just let him have you, let him in a little. And that kind of mentality was in this cult. So I say this as somebody who has friends. I won't say who, it's not my business to go around doxing people. That would be kind of counterproductive. I do have a friend who's a Wiccan. Um he's fed up with this too. Like it's a new age cult, and it basically justifies stalking and harassment. And I was trying to figure out like how to weave all of these social points about J.K. Rowling, condemn a cult, but also respect belief and learning about like coexisting, how to find like an equitable solution. How can I, you know, how can I allow both trans women and biological women to be happy, knowing that this cult is showing a lot of like those same Voldemort like sympathies that she condemns. Some people like think that she is Voldemort, like how she portrays the trans community. I don't really think that's true. I think that she just has a lot of common sense and people envy her money, how she became successful without him, that she was so
Definitely.
independent and confident.
Yeah.
And so like I support her viewpoints. That's established. I and that's what I'm searching for in my work. And so I started off initially by trying to get off of my school's insurance by just going to the ER, and all the distress I felt just went straight into hospital staff. And it's real distress. It wasn't like I was feigning distress and going to the hospital to be nasty. I just channeled it into the correct person. And then eventually he just got tired of covering the expense, and I was removed from their insurance plan. So no, my school doesn't have any control over me health wise. That is entirely now up to the insurance plan I'm currently on. And so far they're like, nope, no problem. She's not causing any issues. Nope, she's totally welcome at the local library. And so this started off that way. Then I partnered up with Babylon Bee, which is a parody news article website. And I noticed that the Twin Flames cult does a lot of like news articles. They have like a blog site. So Bria Dubry does this too, where even though it's an American cult, like she isolates people in India, she'll gaslight people, charge them thousands, I kid you not, thousands of dollars to justify stalking and tell a heartbroken woman, nah, he's not blocking you due to, not being interested or just being with someone else or being married. He just can't handle your intensity, girl. You need to like challenge the status quo. And it's like, that's not truly the voice of progress, though. That's not true equity. That's not true. How can we resolve our differences and get along? That's just perpetuating a problem and aggravating the situation and allowing people to harass someone in J.K. Rowling's shoes even more.
Hmm.
And so, like, there was all this defending this stalking behavior of, like, she just can't move on and can't get over him. And I'm noticing, like, a lot of people who fear abandonment, like, those are, like, their prime targets. It's got to be someone who's extremely vulnerable, feeling really desperate for a guy, and the cult just loves to latch onto that and help him feel so safe and welcome. And it's just straight up desperation. And it's like encouraging this sort of denial phase of he really is in love with you. And it's like, no, he isn't. And it's gone so far as to target Ryan Gosling was targeted by this cult. Like there was a fan of his that thought he was her twin flame, and she would send him creepy dolls and stuff. And it's just super duper weird. This cult, I thought maybe I was bringing something to the table by talking about a cult that's not widely discussed. Like I thought maybe that was like my niche somehow. And looking at like what the Death Eaters support, it's like this is all the mentality is all there. If you disagree with me, you're wrong and you're doing something wrong, and I can enforce that. It's like, no, actually, people need to be allowed to disagree with beliefs respectfully and learn to live with that. That's what coexistence truly is. That's what equity truly is. It's not true equity if I cannot express my viewpoints safely. And so J.K. Rowling, of course, doesn't express this so safely because she's controversial. Like, no one ever really truly made any name of themselves if they didn't choose controversy. If you're choosing safety all the time, it's how people can forget about you and not consider you. And so it's like, you got to have some sort of controversy in order to really get people talking, at least in my opinion. It might, maybe. I
You
could be
see,
wrong there.
I don't agree that J.K. Rowling's controversial. She just says facts about biology and stuff.
Yeah, and the fact that that's what would trigger people so much. And
Yeah.
so it's like, you could be right too. Like, she's not controversial. She just has common sense. And
No,
so,
I
like,
know
if
what you
common
mean, though.
sense is controversial,
That
what a time to be alive.
that straight talking's become controversial. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, it's like the fact that someone would get so butthurt offended by her just literally speaking the truth. The fact that that even is controversial to begin with is, I see where you're coming from. Yeah, it's like, is she really though? It's like, is she really just like, because she's right? I don't know. Like, it's. I don't know. Like, is she? I don't see the beef with her. I don't get why there's such an issue. I maybe it's just these antagonistic haters, and I really think they're just jealous. They're like, she made all this money off Harry Potter. Theme parks are there because of her. Like, we have Universal Orlando completely. I mean, like, half the park is Harry Potter. I went there on vacation one year. I was there to celebrate my brother's graduation, and it was awesome. Like, it was really fun. It's a lot different than Disney World, but it's like, it's there because of her. So it's like, show her a little respect. Don't be so hateful. And I don't know. It's if someone is feeling threatened by common sense, it's less of an issue of the person with common sense. And so, like, the looking at like this cult too, it's very dictator like. It's very like, if somebody is gaslighting, they'll find a way to coerce you initially. Like, they'll come off very friendly and nice. It's like a lot of tactics are used to control people, but also isolate them. It's also to prevent people from leaving. It's to get people to like them without giving them a reason to like wake up and leave. And so, like, what'll happen is a lot of former cult members are seeing like this sort of like anti-turf mentality of, oh, you can sexually harass people if you want, no problem. What was happening on Netflix, there was a TV series, it's 4 episodes, Desperately Seeking Soulmate, Escaping to an Island. Sorry, I just pitched my own work. Desperately Seeking Soulmate, Escaping Twin Flames. I stylized the show's title based off of that work. So now you know the inspiration. Not trying to claim other people's work as my own. Don't hurt me at YouTube with the copyright. But that's where the show's title came from. Was that docuseries, and it was like former members were like blowing the whistle and speaking out. And I wouldn't say I was a former member. I was more curious to just know about it. Like, I was kind of more an observer looking in. I don't know if I could really say that I believed in it. I think I was just more curious about it. Like, why were these people believing the way they do? But I definitely wasn't exactly siding with it. Like, I was always just really skeptical. When you're going for a psychic reading, don't 100% buy it. Like, assume it's for entertainment purposes only. Assume it's for fun. Don't assume it's real. These people use a lot of old tricks in the book to make it look real. It's all a con. Just save your money for something like, I don't know, investing in your career or for paying rent or, providing for yourself and buying groceries. Don't spend all $10 psychic reading, it's not going to come back so well. And so it has a lot of like these articles and their blog posts. They're done like these testimonials, like how I found harmonious union and you can too. And so like a lot of the partnering I did with Babylon Bee was to like satirize those articles. And so they're fake news. I don't know if your audience subscribes to a lot of those like the Onion style channels, that they're fit, when someone says it's fake news, it's okay to stalk people. Eventually I just got pushed to a breaking point where I had to make this funny. I had to keep myself together somehow because medical documentation that I was a stalking survivor wasn't enough. And so basically had to be like, well, what if I just actually became offensive and did some sort of parody, so that way if someone got triggered, then I could just call them out on it. And then it worked. And it's practically saving my career. So
Huh.
it's like I turned my life around by just learning how to be funny. And I think a lot of that was just naturally accomplished by surrounding myself with friends and business partners who were comedians. Like all I had to do was just learn the art of not just being cringe, like, oh, I'm being so funny. Why are you just so offended? That joke was definitely funny. And like, you need to respect my trans rights or you're like going to get canceled on Twitter. And it's like, you got to do more than that. You have to actually like make it work. And it's like something that often just meant like running it by them, like, hey, does this work? And then like there was a lot of audience reception on numerous Twitch channels. Like there were people who were just like naturally gravitating towards that humor. And so what I had to be very careful was I wasn't just like immediately offending, like actually like being a bully for a minute, because my sense of humor is very offensive. And so looking at like, comedians are people with feelings too. Okay. So what I did then was I just started off at like a very G-rated Princess Diaries. Like I just started with puns, just start with like a type of humor that does make people laugh, but it doesn't exactly like it. Don't get too South Parkian until like you know the person. Like you need to know who you're working with. You can't just like not know somebody and just like initiate an impromptu roast battle. It never works. It's how you get called out on Moist Critical. It's you gotta like know enough about the other person to where you have chemistry. And that's why I was so happy to do this with Babylon Bee, because we do have that chemistry. It is the most fun I've had on the internet. It's all this banter about, oh, heaven help you don't agree with me, or heaven help you have a different viewpoint, or heaven help you have common sense, and you just don't want people to get sexually harassed. It's like, oh, heaven help, someone might think like, and like a lot of this whole like pick me behavior, oh no, we're challenging the status quo. No, you're just being obnoxious because they didn't want you. And so it's like trying to balance my responsibilities as an artist to entertain and actually be a justice warrior and actually have common sense, while making sure I'm not alienating my audience or my colleagues. And so like there was a bit of a challenge there of like just really finessing my art, and it became something really awesome. And it's like, it's my pleasure to make sure that I'm ensuring that equity. And part of that was like actually befriending real transsexuals who not only side with J.K. Rowling's common sense, they'll also offer their viewpoints on like, there was a UK bill, I think recently, that was passed that recognized trans women as biologically male. That's true. That's not an opinion. That's biological fact. So I'm actually, before I completely dominate the conversation and just drown you out, I'm curious to know what your thoughts on that bill was, like as somebody who's not trans, because my
So,
my friends who are trans support it.
yeah, so the Supreme Court judgment, it just clarified the existing law, so it was about what it's always been. So the current law is the Equality Act 2010, and it has 9 protected characteristics. Don't ask me to list them off the top of my head. I could list a few of them, but I probably missed some out. Um, and it basically clarified that men are men and women are women. And if it's a women-only space, it's for biological women, of course. However, the law had been manipulated, shall we say, by Stonewall, who used to be a wonderful organisation who helped gay people get rights and, gay marriage. But once they got gay marriage through, they didn't have a cause, so they jumped on the trans bandwagon, and so misrepresented the law in all this training, and that's why it's in all the institutions, and that's why it's been sort of manipulated, and people don't understand the law. But before 2010, there was the Sex Discrimination Act. So there was several different acts like disability discrimination and stuff like that, and that the Equality Act brought it into one act in 2010. So it's always been like that. It always has been. Nobody's lost anything. Nobody's gained anything. The law has been the same since the year dot, however long it's been like that. A long time.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, the fact that they're trying to get the gay community on the bandwagon is just coming to show how much they're trying to manipulate the flag in the name of inclusivity, too. Like, a lot of this
Yeah.
is just rigged DEI practices. So it's like, oh, no, we're
Absolutely.
truly inclusive. And so, like, back to that whole, oh, she's a TERF, she's just excluding people. No, she's protecting women's rights. And
Yeah.
so
Well, they
part
say they're
of
inclusive by excluding people, though.
by treating people like, ew, gross woman, I don't want to
Uh-huh.
hang out with her, she's a narcissist. It's like, okay, but that's exclusionary. I
Yeah.
thought you were against that stuff. So it's like
Well,
a lot
they
of the
don't
argument I would
exclude all
do.
women, though. It's just women with certain opinions or who know about facts.
Finally, somebody who understands me. Oh my gosh. And it's like, we hate exclusionary behavior. Meanwhile, we will exclude you. It's like
Uh-huh.
the sheer hypocrisy in this fake
Yeah,
DEI of, and often the times
absolutely.
as a DEI, just a true DEI advocate who definitely genuinely wants equity, I would often like approach people like, so you just won't exclude me then? Oh, so you're really inclusive. Ooh, I like how inclusive you are. So you'll include me then? Oh no,
Yeah.
we're actually wanting you to be inclusive of us.
Hmm.
And so it's like, oh, you were trying to call me out because I somehow was there for you in your time of need when you needed me all the time. And somehow I've done some sort of egregious error by having common sense. It's like, it doesn't, the logic doesn't really add up. With that logic, I'm not really excluding people. I'm just kind of calling out the hypocrisy and lies in defending
Well,
image, which is exactly what Rowling gets accused of. They accuse her of being a narcissist, how she only cares about her image and her reputation, when
yeah.
those are her genuine beliefs on her Twitter.
But
So it's
basically,
like she's
women need
not
boundaries.
meaning that
Everybody
though.
needs
She's
boundaries.
I think a
Everybody.
lot of it. What were
I
you
was
gonna
just
say?
going to say everybody needs boundaries. It's what
Yes.
keeps us safe. So,
Mhm. And it's just like open doors, open walls. It's like, no, it's actually kind of okay to block someone on social media. It's actually kind of okay to not reciprocate. It's kind of okay to not want a relationship with someone. Sometimes I'm saying this as somebody who has not only been unrequitedly had unrequited affection towards me, also someone who has felt unrequited affection towards someone else. I'm saying this as somebody who has been on both sides of the equation. Both feelings stink. It sucks. It stinks to have your heart broken. It stinks when you love someone and they don't love you back and they don't value you, and that stinks. And that's totally valid feelings. It's not an excuse to be creepy. It's not an excuse to get up and join a cult. It's not an excuse to dismiss common sense as not being grounded in reality. Because although, and I keep this phrase with me in my reptile brain anytime I talk about this, most manipulators are accusing you of what they're doing.
yeah, absolutely.
If somebody is manipulating you, they will always project. It is always a projection. And then the biggest kicker is when that person tries to claim that you're projecting by defending yourself. And so, like, they'll find you at a vulnerable moment and take advantage of that. And it's always going to come back to them naturally. I really find that it's just like the own consequences of their own lies just kind of topple on them naturally. And so I've found the need to like not need to settle that as much and just like let people wonder why their lies are not being taken seriously. And just like let them always wonder what if. That's the greatest way you can get, I don't know, like revenge. I'm not really a vengeful person. I don't think that that's ever solved many problems. It's getting revenge on a bully. The best revenge is just to is just to leave someone wondering why no one believes in hypocrisy anymore and never
Yeah.
actually answer that question because they will never take that answer seriously. You gave that answer already. So it's like they don't need any further explanation. They're always going to be fueling a delusion, fueling their denial. In the cult's case, fueling a heartbreak and reframing it as, well, he just excluded me somehow. Like there's a lot of like this whole um not feeling the same way is somehow exclusionary behavior. And that's exactly what fuels stalking in the first place. is that they feel that they are entitled to this person. I am entitled to this object of affection, and like seeing how like women's locker rooms are being invaded. Like I cannot be the only person who's like drawing those parallels in my mind of it's a sense of entitlement. What
Yeah.
are my rights? It's always
Yeah.
going to go back to this basic crux of, am I fighting for my rights or am I fighting for my object of what I want? Here's
Mm.
what I want and how I'm going to get it, and it's my right to have this man. No one has a right to be in a relationship with anybody. I never said otherwise. There were people trying to accuse me of that too. Like I felt entitled to some sort of defense because I had common sense. It's like, no, I was literally trying to find anyone but this person to defend me. And it was like that easy because I just don't buy into a delusion. I don't validate a delusion. I don't validate cult dictatorship. And so that, of course, drives them into oblivion. These people, of course, totally handle it super well by having public meltdowns in front of thousands of people. And just, it's like, I just want to cover my face in embarrassment at these people some days. Like the whole meltdowns on TikTok and Twitter.
I
Um,
know.
it feels good to know that I have friends who are, mind you, are LGBT, not LGB, not T, LGBT. I got friends across the flag. And you know what? They treat me with absolute love and respect. And that's why I'm their friend. Because they treat me
Yeah.
right. It's like,
Yeah.
I'll be your friend if you treat me right. It's like, really, that's my one prerequisite. Just don't treat me like a punching bag or or like a therapist. When people talk about like the suicide prevention and stuff, like how we're just preventing trans suicide. So there we go. I can treat my friends like they're a resource and a therapist instead of a friend. No. Don't ever treat somebody like that. Treat a therapist like a therapist. It's like, and really, it's like, are we really preventing that? Are porking kids up with hormone therapy, is that, I've yet to see that actually prevent that. More often than not, those kids grow up to be adults regretting their transition and detransitioning and sharing their horror stories about how they can't feel like pleasure anymore, or they can't feel parts of their body anymore. They're completely
Hmm.
numb due to the injections, and horror stories of kids who were sewn up because they were too young to consent. Their parents often like consented for them. Like there's a lot of like their parents will just sign them up, and because the kid's under 18, they can't say no. How that's basically child abuse.
Yeah.
It's sickening to know that kids do not have any autonomy or consent over their own bodies because they weren't old enough to say anything when they were feeling miserable, and they were just like feeling so dysphoric and exposed. And it's like, I recognize dysphoria is real. Recognizing mental illness is real does not mean that that I'm being condescending or gaslighting that person. Like there's often like, you're just gaslighting me by saying I'm mentally ill. No, actually, I think that mental illness needs to be treated with empathy and compassion. If someone is depressed or even like they're suicidal, that needs to be treated with love and compassion. So it's like, it doesn't, recognizing mental illness is not inherently hate speech. Like YouTube flagged a meme I did where it was a meme and it says male, female, and like all like the genderqueer, demi beard, I don't know what it is, like demi goddess, flux, all this kinds of stuff, all these kinds of identity stuff I can't list because, oh honey, you can be whatever gender you want. No, you actually can't. And all that was circled, and it said mental illness, and then male and female said reality, or like I can't remember the title of the meme. And I posted that in the community post, and it was hate speech. I was like, how? And then what I did was I screenshotted the decision, posted that meme in the decision, and it was allowed on YouTube. I'm
Yeah.
telling you, it's censorship.
Yeah. Yeah. I've
I
had
was like,
I've had a comment removed today off LinkedIn saying what's the difference between a cisgender man using their language I don't usually, and a cisgender man and a trans woman, because to me they're all the same, they're all men, and that's been removed off LinkedIn. So
well,
I've
because they'll say,
appealed
let
it.
go of the labels. You got to let
We'll
go
see
of
what happens.
labels and your old ways of thinking. Like, that's how the progressives will word it. They'll make it look all fancy, like, "Ooh, we're overcoming our old ego." And so like the cult will do that too. So really like it is a far left cult. And so like it's seeing like all these parallels with, oh, you just gotta like vibe the vibes of unconditional love and like let go of the label of trans and just accept the fact that you're male now. Like you were born the wrong gender. And it's like all come hang out with me, little children. And it's like super creepy and just like super predatory of like, I can help you. And it's just I could get that imagery of like, you know how you know how kids joined the Hitler Youth? They weren't forced to join. They were told that they could get cool bikes and like they could have all this really neat stuff if you just went Heil a few times. And it's like I don't even know in your country if you couldn't even say that pejoratively. Some countries don't allow you to make fun of the Heil Hitler phrase. Like I don't know if like you can even like are you even allowed to
We're
say that?
supposed to have free speech, but it depends if the government likes what you're saying or not.
That's not super totalitarian at all.
I know it's getting really
Like
bad,
the thought
but
police finding out.
technically we'll have free speech, but in practice it's a bit hit missy, a bit patchy, I would say.
The free speech that 1984 by George Orwell will give you, basically.
Yeah,
That kind of fluffy free speech.
it's like
Never
the
mind the
opposite.
fact that, so a lot of, like, when the war in Israel happened, I saw how, like, the Met Police was responding to Palestinian immigrants. I get that maybe there were probably some people that were fleeing their oppressive government, and props to them for that. I'm not saying that there are not people in that situation. I know what it's like to actually be kind of targeted by that hate. Like, assuming I'm an illegal immigrant for wanting Muslim solidarity with Israel and wanting world peace, like most, I think what sane people want is peace. I think 9 out of 10 people want peace. 99% of the world wants peace. But if you look at that as a percentage, that's still 8 million terrorists we got to deal with.
I don't know about that though, because I posted on Facebook a few months ago about was it the war in Ukraine? I can't remember. It was a war anyway. I posted saying something. It was like a criticism, but a funny criticism. Yeah, it
Mm-hmm.
was Zelensky, I remember.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, well, wouldn't it be better just to not have a war? And loads of people got really upset with me for saying that and removed me as a friend. Like women that I'd known since I went to school removed me as a friend because I said that I didn't think we should be at war. And that used to be a completely normal and reasonable position to have
Yeah.
in the 80s and 90s, but apparently now it's not.
I think you just lost some gems. I mean, they just lost. Sorry, I'm gonna say it the other way around. They just lost. When I'm nervous, it shows. They just lost a gentleman friend with common sense.
Yeah.
You lost some people who
It's
weren't
the
contributing to the
propaganda,
conversation.
though.
Was what I was trying to say that came out.
It's the propaganda.
Sorry.
It's the
You lost
propaganda on the
nothing of great value to
no.
if your friends are blocking you because you want peace. You just
Yeah.
lost some
It's the
terrorist friends.
propaganda though on mainstream media. They're promoting the war in the Ukraine, and so if you don't go along with the propaganda, then I think they probably subconsciously know that they're wrong, but can't admit it and can't face it, and so it's easier just to kind of cancel you than to face
At
that they're
least
wrong.
at least they're aware of their own delusions, but
They're not
they're still
though.
buying into it. And so it's like it's almost like you're describing a very 1984 like environment where it's just like the thought police will be called on you. Heaven
Yeah,
help that you hold beliefs that are like not only just beliefs, but like that can be based in reality and can be validated as truth. Because then it's not even a belief anymore; it's simple fact. It's one
yeah,
thing if you're fighting a lie with a belief. You could probably just say that person's offended, but not much we could do. If you're fighting a lie with straight up truth and
yeah,
fact, then you're a formidable person to be reckoned with, whoever approaches you, because now you're not just going off of belief and disagreeing with belief. So you can say, like, oh, I am fighting a lie because I believe Jews have the right to believe what they want just as much as Muslims do. And you could probably go with that for a little while. But now you're going off of belief. We can't prove for a fact that Hashem really gave them Israel, though they'll definitely believe that and will want that belief respected. There's not much you can do until you can say, hey, leave Torah law out of it for a minute and go, there really are just two genders, male and female. now you've got biological fact, and now you've got actual truth in there. Because for one, you could say, hey, these religious beliefs also support that. Yeah, it's great and wonderful, but it doesn't prove anything. It proves that you have a valid opinion. And so that's something I had to learn too. Am I just being subjective, or am I actually going to have some sort of ground like facts when arguing in favor of my show, arguing in favor of my album that accompanies this work? It really is like a lot of fun. Like, and really, like the show, the whole mood of it starts off genuinely like mostly serious. Like season one handles all the painful emotions of being attacked by people who you thought you could trust. And so like that's more like and as the show goes on, it becomes more and more gradually absurdist to where there's less and less room to validate people and to not get so butthurt offended. Because it's like, it's one thing if you're J.K. Rowling, she's not really butthurt offended though. She kind of has valid claims when claiming that she's getting bullied and harassed. And so, like, when we look at, like, comedy of no comedian likes an easily offended audience member. That's not how you make friends with comedians. You gotta be able to take a joke. And so, like, what was happening was people were joking about her, and it was like, well, they were trying to make her look offended. And it's like, okay, well, not if she has common sense. If somebody is putting out an impression that they believe in biological science, then to call them out for being offended reads less as a joke and more as the very harassment and gaslighting that she complains about in her books.
Yeah.
Because Voldemort is a whole psychopath. Like, he's a gaslighter. He goes around saying, I am benevolent. Like, that's exactly the mind of somebody who's just looking for Death Eaters to antagonize her. It's like you're not making a point about trans rights. You're proving her right and proving why we should fear this activism to begin with. Because the whole, oh, she's just transphobic. Well, no. And Rowling has said, like, she has friends that are trans. I think that she's protecting them. And that just comes to show how not transphobic she is. Because it's one thing if, like, you're featuring their work or, like, she's including them in the conversation. She might actually be, like, really worried about their welfare. What if I introduce my trans friends to the public? What will happen to them? And so initially, when I was in her position of you need some trans friends, initially it was just like sharing their work because it happened on YouTube. It was like a cyber community. And so I was like, oh man, what if I share his work? What if I like put my friends in more danger? And so I was almost like afraid to approach this. I'd be like, I almost want to do what she's doing and just not produce the proof that she has the trans community defending her, because it's like that. I honestly think that's her intentions. I think that she's protecting them. I don't think that she's just not able to come up with anything. I think that she's just worried for their welfare. So it's like, and looking at how there's a lot of trans support for her, it's like, it the more when you're that famous, it's like it's not going to be that difficult for her to get fans. It's like she's the author of Harry Potter, a world famous global phenomenon of 7 books and 8 movies that produced theme parks and merchandise, and people still talking about her to this day, even after the hype of Harry Potter coming out for time. There's an HBO show that is arguably rather PC. I don't get why we need a black Snape, though I'm certainly not here to tell black people that they can't be in my show. I just don't know if that's really necessary to be that, for lack of a better term, woke. I have business partners who are black who would likely see that as not necessary. So
Yeah.
it's like people are still talking about Harry Potter to this day, even after that hype of the series coming out in real time is long over. So it's not like she's not relevant anymore. It's not like she can't generate interest in her franchise. So why would she not only be the offended one, also the one who can't keep a thing going? People still talk about her. It's like, if you don't, a really great way to cancel somebody who's always been established is to not give them attention. Don't give them
Yeah.
that attention. Don't add fuel to that fire. Don't give them bad press, because it's still press. And
Yeah.
she thrives off of that bad press. It's why she retorts back with, I still got your money, even though you're burning my books. Enjoy your marshmallows. It's like
Yeah.
that you're giving her what she wants. And so when you're looking at it from the status of she's a public figure, first of all, I was like, I was literally born in the 90s. I am that kid who grew up with her books in real time. So, and I'm not here to say that you can't be mad at her. Was I mad when she killed off all my favorite characters? Totally. But that's not anything social justice warrior related. That was just me reacting to the events of the story. And I remember just like being told, she's ruthless. She won't care if you're offended. She's British. And just like, well, that doesn't mean I can't have moments where I'm like, listen to pieces like Dumbledore's Farewell. I mentioned at the beginning of this stream that I want to go into film scoring. What better piece to illustrate the validation of those audience members who were mad when, spoiler alert, Dumbledore dies in book 6. If you haven't read it, that's on you.
Yeah.
I put a spoiler alert out there. Don't at me, YouTube. And what better piece to portray the emotions that a film score should generate than Dumbledore's Farewell by Nicholas Hooper? Oh my gosh. So he worked on the score for, I want to say it was 5 and 6 of the movies. So John Williams did the first 3. Patrick Doyle did the 4th, and I love his score for Goblet of Fire. And then Alexandre Desplat did movie 7 and 8, but 7th book, so it was split into 2 parts. And Nicholas Hooper's score is really, really good. I think it's underrated because everybody hears John Williams and they go, that's the only film score I know about because he's John Williams. And then so we look at like how these film scores were all in complete camaraderie. He was completely humble, and John Williams has always been really humble about his fame. Like he's always been super cool about it. And, you know, it's like looking at the man who was approached to write for Schindler's List and being told, I can't write for it because I'm alive. Like, just think of a response like that. So, like, he's really cool about it, but he's also, like, not the only film scorer who did Harry Potter. He just did the main theme we all know and can recall, like, at the drop of a hat. You know, who can't hum that? We can hum that because John Williams. And so, looking at Nicholas Hooper's score, it's just as memorable. It hits you just as hard, really full of merit and full of feeling. And I remember analyzing one of his scores. Like, there's a score he did for Dolores Umbridge where he did a theme, and like he did a tritone at the beginning, but it was in a group of 3. And I remember hearing that and going like, oh wow, this is a musical interpretation of a 666, because she's like a devilish character who thinks that she's enforcing something, and she's really just doing awful things to these students and like making them write on the back of their hand. Like, it's awful. Like, I must not tell lies. And so it was neat to see like his score understand the feelings of how the audience was reacting to what was happening to the characters. And so like that sort of emotion and feeling is warranted because the score is calling for that. The music is calling for that. So a lot of like what I was discerning when analyzing Harry Potter, analyzing these movements, is when it was kind of okay for to have this sort of justified anger. Yeah, when you're reacting to her story, when you're reacting to what happens to these characters and you don't want that outcome. Yeah, that's normal because you're just enjoying a fictional story. But when you're looking at real people and real lives and real careers that could be damaged because somebody didn't like her common sense, I draw the line at that. Because now you're not looking at fictional witches and wizards who are at a boarding school to study magic. Now you're looking at real people and the real author behind the screen. And she's like a real person. So what was happening was, as I was connecting with these comedians, there were people who were not recognizing, hey, you're not yelling at the news. You're yelling at a person over their business email. You're yelling at a person using their personal email to say hateful things. You're yelling at the person. You are not yelling at their fictional counterpart, the roles they might have played on their show. You are yelling at the person now. And so I was beginning to like really draw a line at that, as were other people. And so like there were issues I was having with followers not recognizing that there was a parasocial line that was very real and it had been previously crossed dozens of times. And looking at how a cult will treat that, they'll go violate that boundary, keep contacting them even after they've asked you to stop, and just keep harassing them. And then just it all went into chaos. And so my take on parasocial interaction is you can interact with a fictional personality. You can interact with even a part that someone has played that they might relate to. And so you might draw that sort of realism. But what you can't do when talking about these issues this whole delusion of this, I can just yell at J.K. Rowling herself. No, you can't. She will call security on you and have you arrested. And there were people like trying to have her arrested and retaliate because she was complaining to security. And the Met Police, this is the same police that will just allow Jews to get swatted. Like, there was a story that I read from the UK, and so you're British, you might have more info on this than I would, about a Jew. He was crossing the street. This was like really fresh after the terror attacks. I don't even think it had been a year. And he was literally just crossing the street, literally just trying to get to work or like go to the local restaurant, just minding his own business. And there was a pro-Palestinian protest. And mind you, I think that's too wordy. Just say Nazi rally. Like, did
I
you say
agree.
pro-Palestinian, pro-Hamas, what
I
side are
hate
you on?
that.
Should you
I
really be
hate
siding with the
that.
Nazis? Should you really be
Yeah.
siding with their
No.
logic? Is that really like a question of a debate? And so like there were Jews and the police were approaching them and saying, hey, your presence is really bothering these people. I'm not against you, but I'm going to have to trespass you from this property. And like, I'm going to have to warn you to stop. And it was just like, that's a Nazi. That's exactly what the Nazis wanted in the police. So, like, these people claim to be so against police brutality and end the genocide and all these lies that just completely the UK police are just, like, okay with. And it's like, it's not okay in this day and age. You would think in
No.
2025 people would learn.
The thing about the police in the UK is that different areas have different police forces. So the
Mm-hmm.
Met Police is for London. I'm not sure exactly what it covers, but where I live, it's Northumbria Police, so it's a different police force. Although they do talk to each other and they're supposed to have the same rules, they kind of are a little bit different how they operate.
Wow. So, do you think that the UK is largely gerrymandered? Like, do you think there's a lot of that going on where it's just like, this district will defend me, but because this one is being like, do you think
Um,
it's like a power play in politics? Your politics is very different than America. See, we have a bipartisan system. You have like a lot of parties. You have a multi-party system. So
but
I
there's
don't want
only
to be
two
comparing apples
that
and
have got,
oranges.
like, historically, that like in recent history, there's only been two possible governments that can be formed
Mm-hmm.
from the parties. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, we do have more. You can have as many parties as you want. So
Yeah,
I stood in the election last year for Party of Women in the general election for my area.
yeah, and it's just your governments are so different, and so like I want to make sure I'm not comparing apples and oranges when looking at like jurisdictional issues because our American government is just so different. We have Republicans, Democrats, and then yeah, we get like our third parties like our Libertarians, which frankly I wish think had more say. Rawlings supports a Labor Party, which is like your center left.
It's
I'm
not. It's
it's
not. The Labour
it's
Party now is far left, as far as
wow,
I'm
really?
concerned. Authoritarian, yeah.
Wow, that
If you
is
see what they're doing, the new
ugh.
government since last year, it's horrific.
Center left. We'll put it in
It's
quotes.
not centre
It's
anymore,
not
no.
really, but they'll say it is. But
They're trying to bring in communism as far as I can tell.
yeah,
Hmm.
exactly. It's
But
that
then the old
1984.
Conservative Party that were in before them, lots of people say they were far right, but they weren't. They were very left wing as well. They were heading into authoritarianism, and I think they were very left wing. Like when I say left wing, I mean like big government,
Mm-hmm.
high tax.
High
Whereas
tax.
on the right, I would say like Trump, like low tax,
Mm-hmm.
responsibility on the individual to look after themselves,
Mm-hmm.
that kind of thing. But
Get a
I
job.
think
Don't rely off of welfare so much.
yeah, yeah.
And so, like a
But
lot of
the
what Trump was
Conservative
doing.
Party weren't like that. They weren't properly conservative in recent times. They're not.
Is Trump really a conservative though? Because all I'm seeing and Trump is like a love-hate relationship with the left. He used to be when he was like with the whole Epstein stuff that's being talked about, and I hope absolutely does not get censored. That was when he was popular with the left. And that's what a lot of like the left-wing media doesn't tell you is that a lot of it was like when he was fans of the far left. So the fact that he's standing up to it and getting on good terms with the Anti-Defamation League really just only leaves the conversation of is he doing it for his own image and staying in power, or does he actually genuinely support the Anti-Defamation League and Israel's efforts? And so like there's a lot of that's more where the debate is headed regarding Epstein, because he was initially like that was back when like far left terrorists were like totally digging him, and now they don't because he's telling him to leave our country. So it's like, and it's like, well, where will they go? Well, ideally, their home country where they can't just mooch off of Medicaid and Social Security or Medicare. But yeah, it's like a lot of the crises and protests in the streets were like due to immigration and stuff, and so like a lot of it was like, well, how are the police handling it? ICE is handling it no nonsense. They're doing it. They're doing the executive order, and so like local police, local judges are like, hmm, well, that one didn't feel safe, and that one felt really excluded. It's like rinse, lather, repeat. Back to the whole inclusive conversation. Are we really truly supporting DEI? And so far, the left is saying, not really, but we'd like to look that way so we can stay in power because these are the only people keeping us in power and we're super unpopular, but we don't want
Yeah.
people to know that. So, but wanted to thank you for having me on your show, letting me talk about my work, let me talk about my viewpoints. It was actually really
Yeah,
fun
you
talking
had
to you.
lots to say.
Yeah, I thank you.
Is
I hope to be on again. You were really sweet. Thank you.
yeah, is there anything that you'd like to promote before we wind up?
Definitely read about the Twin Flames cult. I would encourage your audience to actually look it up, look up the raids. Just have a healthy sense of discerning judgment. I don't want people getting conned out their money. I'd like to. Yeah, you feel free to check out the TV show I'm working on. I would like to include this episode like in somewhere on in the series too, if you're interested. So
Yeah.
I concluded like in the final. There's a big finale with like multiple episodes. If you'd like, I would be happy to put it in there so we can include our conversation and just getting a voice heard, but also just like wanting to offer equitable solutions with my music. So like definitely read about the cult. Definitely like get a bit of a background info so that way people know what I'm talking about when I say Twin Flames universe. So just
Yeah.
adding that context.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for coming on. It was lovely to have you.
Yeah, absolutely.
I just wanted to take a moment to speak directly to the women listening who might be struggling in silence. So maybe you're living with the fallout of a husband or partner who's suddenly decided he's a woman, leaving you feeling confused, coerced, or even pressured into things you never consented to. Maybe you're a mother with a daughter or a son who now says they're trans, and you're carrying the heartbreak of that loss without anyone around you really understanding. Or maybe you've been cancelled, silenced, or bullied in your workplace, in your family, or even online, and you're left questioning your reality, your confidence, and your sense of self. If any of that sounds familiar, I just want you to know that you're not alone, and you don't have to keep pushing through it on your own strength, because that's exactly why I offer counselling for women. It's a private, safe, and non-judgmental space where you can say the unsayable. And I know how hard it can be to put words to feelings of betrayal, grief, or anger, especially when the world around you just wants you to be quiet. In our sessions, you'll be heard, believed, and supported without judgment. My work is grounded in person-centred counselling, but I also bring in other tools like inner child work, trauma-informed approaches, and relational models to help you uncover what's really going on beneath the surface. Together we'll explore how the past is shaping the present, untangle the dynamics of coercive or narcissistic relationships, and give you space to grieve losses that others might dismiss or deny. The women that I work with often tell me that our sessions give them clarity, strength, and the ability to start making decisions that honour their own needs, sometimes for the first time in years. And so whether you're trying to rebuild after coercion, come to terms with ambiguous loss, or simply reconnect with who you are, therapy can be the place where you start to feel like yourself again. And I offer a free, no obligation consultation so that you can see if working together feels like the right fit. There's no pressure, just a chance to talk about what you need and how I might be able to help. You can find out more at kellyoliverdougal.co.uk. You deserve a space where you are truly heard, and if this speaks to you, I'd be honoured to walk alongside you on your journey of healing and strength.